Good to have you on the 9 p.m. edition of the Urban Debate. I want to tell you a story from the city of Bengaluru. 75-year-old, differently able Khursheed Ahmed, a resident of Jayanagar from central Bengaluru, was riding his vehicle when it went into a pothole. He got into an accident. He died on the spot. Yes, we lost another life of a citizen because there are potholes on our roads, because we can't fix potholes on our roads, because we can't build roads that survive beyond a few weeks, because we cannot build roads for citizens, for the taxpayers, that can actually run smoothly for more than a few hundred meters. Time and again, we have reported deaths due to potholes, not just in Bengaluru, but across this country. It's as if the entire nation and the civic bodies and all the experts and the governments cannot come up with a solution to get rid of the pothole on our roads, irrespective of how many people die in such accidents. And I'll tell you what, it's not that they can't. It's not that we don't have the technology. It's not like we don't have the money. Visit any VVIP area of any city. Try looking for a pothole. Try looking for an open drain, for a dug-up road that hasn't been addressed even though the work is finished, with water puddles and pipes and leftover construction material just lying around. Go to any VVIP area. We did so today. We went to the area where the Chief Minister of Karnataka resides. We went to the area where the Secretariat is there. And we found that yes, the Bengaluru civic body and development authorities are capable of giving us good roads. But not when it comes to you and I. There are 1,723 spots vulnerable to waterlogging in the city. There are potholes that are to be filled in over 1,300 kilometers of major roads. And what is it that the netas do and the civic bodies and the development authorities do? Blame. Blame the rain, blame the weather, blame the vehicle, blame the rider. Blame another authority. Blame whoever else except take responsibility. So the reason we got this time was, it got damaged due to rain. We don't know why this man was traveling on this route. But we will fix it. We will fix the potholes after the rain. And we will ensure that this doesn't happen next year. By 20th of September, says the Revenue Minister of Karnataka, by 20th of September, we will fix all the potholes. So technically, if I am to believe him, if he is to fulfill this promise, can fill up all the potholes and fix all the roads in 15 days. But we couldn't do it so far. Is it necessary that we must sit and outrage after every such incident? Is it necessary that we must pick up our cameras and our booms and chase our ministers and our officials after every such incident? Is it necessary that the citizens of any city come out on streets, paint the roads, make beautiful design structures around the potholes to get your attention? That they actually have to protest simply to get a good, clean, pothole-free road in this country? In 2021, are these still our issues that we have to everyday outrage for? Because the answer seems to be yes. And if that be the case, we are ready to do so. We as taxpayers will continue to do so. raise our voice and question every single party that comes to power and gets out of power. In the civic body level, the government level. What are you doing? Can't you just simply save lives by giving us plain, simple roads? Anand Gurumurthy of the BJP joins me this evening. Lavanya Balal of the Congress Party. V.K. Somashekar, Managing Trustee for Grahak Shakti, joins me this evening. Ravi Chandran V, Civic Urban Infrastructure Expert. Priya Chetty Rajgopal, Founder, Member of Citizens for Bengaluru, with me this evening as well. Priya, let me start off with you. We've had so many conversations year after year. What changes in the city, if it does at all?
Tanvi, is that question for me?
Yes.
All right. So, the last year when the High Court asked citizens to report the number of potholes, 5,435 potholes were reported within just a few days, and poor footpaths. So this is obviously a recurring theme. The point that you mentioned, and I want to do something a little different here. I also want to point out that there is an upside. There is something that can happen in the future if we do it right. So rains and everything that is bad about Bangalore roads completely surfaces. So the issue is, does it happen every year? Do we know what's going to happen? And we still don't do anything about it. The second related issue is there is almost a complete lack of focus on the needs of the differently abled. It's almost like they don't exist. The fact that he was a differently abled person on the road was like, why was he there? You make also an important point that the central areas are very well looked after, and sometimes, and you can see that very palpably. The other areas, you can see more holes on the road than anything else. Having said this, and having looked at literally at death in the face with this poor man, I mean, I saw the picture of the scooter, it breaks your heart. And then you're just saying, how many more of this are we going to keep on reacting to? How can we preempt? And the three things that have come to my mind, because I've just been on conversations on ward committees and various else, I'm an active citizen. I'm trying to see what we can do at the local levels. The three things that I've seen which have helped in the last year has been the fact that the ward committees are functioning very much more locally. So you are in charge of your ward. You are at least involved in harassing your ward engineer, harassing your water supply guy to make sure that the supply of water is not damaging the roads and so on. And there's so many other things you're dealing with. The second thing is that however crass it is, the fact that BBMP has recognized that these things deserve compensation, and there's a 3 lakh compensation that's been announced. I think it was 15,000 a little earlier. This is a cost, and it's ridiculous. There's no cost to human life. The third thing is, just 2 days back, there was, and again, this is about empowerment, which is why I wanted to mention to you, Tanvi, very categorically, that while these terrible things are happening, the repetitiveness of it, the almost the shamelessness of it, the fact that everybody seems to be in a collective silence is so upsetting, horrifying, and tragic. The upside is just the other day, there was a note from the government saying that the ward committees have been empowered to do up to 20 lakhs of road improvement in their ward, 20 lakhs in terms of, water and other improvements. So, you're trying to decentralize and make sure the people who are in the locality are taking responsibility. And if you don't take that responsibility, nothing is going to happen, because at a high level, chief engineers of the world will keep making motherhood statements, and we're not going to get anywhere. So as a citizen, I would end by saying, I'm horrified. But that's, again, a large statement. All of us say it. I mean, I sound exactly like a politician when I say this. But I'm also very, very deeply conscious that there's no other choice but for citizens to be able to respond back, change the system with the system, make the system respond to you, and escalate. We've got apps like I Change My City, which you can report. I report 100 things on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, rubbish piling up, this. And now it's a little quiet, but earlier they used to respond to it. So we have to make the system respond to us. But nothing, Tanvi, nothing absolutely justifies a differently abled man lying in indignity on the streets, run over or dead just because there was a bump on the road, which we could not prevent, attend to, or even care about. I think that's it. We just don't care enough.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's not that we could not, we didn't care enough to do so. We didn't care enough to fix it on time. And Anand Gurumurthy, what is it that only in India with the rains, at the drop of one single raindrop, the road just crumbles. And that's that. We have pictures that the citizens have sent us, where when they complained of potholes, like Priya was saying, at least there is some response that comes in. They complained of potholes. The civic body came in the city of Mumbai, filled it up, and responded with another picture on Twitter. And you know what? Instead of a pothole, it was now a bump. It was literally half a feet higher than the rest of the road, which would still lead to accidents until the next rain, which would mean that the entire material would come out of the pothole again. Why can't we get this right? Simply, Anand.
This is something which we all suffer on a daily basis, whether we are in Bengaluru, Mumbai, or Delhi, wherever we are. The reason is scientifically potholes are not being filled, and we have done a lot of exercise on educating them. And in fact, in our national highways department, this has come to an extent wherein they're getting educated, the engineers, and they're being trained for things. And it has to boil down to the city management levels also. Maybe transferring some experienced engineers from there would be a good idea, which is being discussed within the Karnataka government, because after a point it is like BBMP is a separate department and this mess is not getting cleared from many years. So there is a thought that some of the experienced engineers who are working in the highways department, and the highways department has really gained some knowledge in this matter. So there's a thought to bring in those people and transfer these people to different places, because after a point it becomes a very messy thing. Pothole doesn't care whom it is killing. It might be me tomorrow. Okay, so or anybody, any politician, today a poor man died. It might be anybody, any one of us. So we are thinking on those lines, because ultimately, scientifically, potholes have to be filled. What you mentioned, Tanvi, is a very important thing. There's a pothole and when somebody complains and the civic authority says it is filled, it is actually a mountain there, okay, which is pathetic. So things are going to go ahead in the coming days, and people are discussing, politicians are discussing about this, and some really, really good steps will be taken in Bengaluru city. Our in-charge minister, Mr. Ashok, has also talked about this, and the plan is to bring in some engineers who have done really, really good work in other departments regarding road works, and bringing them into positions where they can address this and somehow manage this in the coming days.
Now, Anand, if you say so, let me just add to the fact that I don't think we lack engineers who don't have the skills or the scientific expertise to do so. What we do have is a corrupt system which allows the contractors and the officials to get away with whatever they want to do on ground.
I'm not disagreeing on that matter, Tanvi. What I'm trying to tell you is, you tell me BBMP is a separate department. Year on year, we are having the same issue. And to give you an example, in Karnataka, we had Congress government. If you go just 3 years back, we had a Congress government, JDS government, BJP government, and corporators are from every other party. I represent the BJP party. I'm not telling it on one party. All of us have been in power, but yet within BBMP, we are having this issue of garbage and potholes continuously.
Yes.
And one of the things that was blamed was the population is increasing in Bengaluru, roads are in bad shape, all this. But this is a year-on-year thing, and we want to address it in a more focused way by bringing in.
So I have a solution. I have a solution. If you want to take it back to your party, which is also perhaps struggling, like you say, with the same problem in what to do, Mr. Somashekar, let's ensure that all the VVIPs in a city live across the city in different areas. Each area should have some VVIP staying there, who then, when gets upset because of the pothole or the garbage pile outside his house, calls up the civic body, and the BBMP and BDA, rather than putting the blame on each other, will together very quickly find a solution to it. Should we just do that? Mr. Somashekar, I think you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. You see, I've participated in any number of debates on all the regional channels on this subject. So we get this blame, even on previous mayor was on record that we'll fix everything on 1 year. So I would not go into that kind of controversy by the politicians. It is not, the application of mind is not there. We have got best engineers. We got, in fact, probably ISRO can, instead of sending Mangalyaan, they can do some greater studies in Bangalore itself. See, it's become a joke here. So let's leave it at that. My only grouse is on ourselves as citizens. Ravichandar, all of us, Priya, everybody of us, we need to introspect. There are about, out of 200 wards, there are about 670 to 700 citizen resident welfare organizations. They are not coming together. There are 200 wards. Out of 200 wards, each ward has got 3-4 resident welfare organizations. Each of them should take this to the court. Each death should be taken to the court. They should file a PAL, make it responsible. This tutu may be between not only the politicians. Now the engineers have started. BBMP says, no, this is not my jurisdiction. BDA says, no, we are not responsible. Who is responsible? Fix that responsibility. Put it on the contractor who is doing this. We have had all these debates. These are repetitive debates. It happens every time there is a rain. Every time the expert panels are there. I participate in most of them. There is a road expert, C. Hari is there. He breaks his head on how to improve the system at the all India level also. But we don't seem to care. We repeat every time, we keep on repeating. So there's no dearth of knowledge. There's no dearth of, it is not a rocket science that we are trying to find out how to fix potholes. We know everything, but the system is corrupt. The whole system is corrupt, patronizing the contractors who repeatedly do this, patronizing the same old kind of a thing, and so lip sympathy. We will fix it. You know how many are there? They give statistics. Immediately tomorrow an inspection will be done. On camera, all the media will chase. This is exactly, we are sick of this. And we need to get rid of this. Now, as you rightly said, white topping of roads has taken place. Huge amount of taxpayers' money has gone into this. Now, what has happened? Only it has been done in urban areas where VVIPs are staying, as you rightly said. All this is, high thinking that we asked them to go back. They are there. Now, fortunately, the corporators who are supposed to be in the area are, seeking a sigh of relief because they don't have this. The corporation is not there. Elected representatives are not there. So they are, feeling gay that nothing will happen to them now. So the officials are feeling the thing. So I feel citizens should take responsibility, come together, go to the court, to fix them. Each death, 3,597 deaths have taken place. It's as good as, as a COVID scale, this thing reporting should be done on fatalities.
Yes.
There's no point in fixing, files on these people and letting more corruption. There needs to be a responsibility. People have to take responsibility, come forward, and this must stop somewhere. This cannot continue.
You say people must take responsibility, take them to court. If in every ward the citizens begin to take their ward officials, contractors, local corporator to court, maybe then something will change. What is instead happening is that people are getting penalized. I remember there was a case in Bengaluru itself where a couple was on the bike. Because of a pothole, they got into the accident and the wife died. And they booked the husband for negligent driving. So much is, the intent is to make you fear and feel intimidated to the extent that you don't even raise your voice. Priya Chetty points out the fact that at least now, they have decided to start giving compensation. But I would want criminal action. Criminal action against those who've led the loss of that life. It's plain, simple, point blank murder. And Mr. Ravichandar, good evening to you. The argument that's given to us every time from the authorities is rains. Rains have broken the roads. Once the rains go away, we'll fix them again until the next time rains take place. Now, please explain to me, how is it that the rains don't destroy the roads outside the minister's residence and their offices?
So, Tanvi, basically, let's go into why a pothole happens. Today's puddle is tomorrow's pothole, fundamentally. Now, why do puddles happen? Puddles happen because you don't have drains, you have badly constructed drains, you have drains that have got silt, etc., consequently cannot work. You do roads which don't have the necessary gradient to run off of water. So all this leads to the problem. Now, fundamentally, I'm in agreement with Somsekhar that fundamentally there is petty corruption. Conservatively, there are informal estimates that between 40 to 60% of the project money leaks. And essentially, potholes are a reflection of that petty corruption in the bulk of the city, except the VIP areas that you mentioned. That really is the reality. You know, Mr. Somsekhar said, let's go to court, etc. See, citizens have a life to lead, even with the RWAs. Everybody doesn't have the wherewithals to keep going to the court. And I want to share a small anecdote, which I think essentially tells you the problem. So this was in the context, I won't mention the exact ward and where it happened. You know, there was action against restaurants and health, and some of the restaurants were closed, etc. So citizens of the thing walked along with the health officers from the BBMP, etc., in the area. And they said, you better do this, better do that. Otherwise, you'll be in contempt of court. So the officer said, okay, what will happen with contempt of court? They said, you may go to jail. They said, fine, I'm ready to go to jail. I am more scared of contempt of MLA and corporator. So the reality on the ground is that the shots are called by people who are by and large invisible. And we have a pretty dysfunctional system. And while Priya Chetty says there's ward, the reality of ward committee is we are millions and millions of miles away from seeing functional ward committees. The other problem really is that the stranglehold of the state, we can blame the BBMP, but the reality is we don't have an empowered third tier of government at all. The third tier is a prisoner of the state government. The state government calls the shots, and consequently, either they must pass on the responsibility and get out of the way, or they better take on the responsibility and deliver. So I really think we have a huge problem here, which repeats year after year. Forget about pothole. My biggest fear as someone who's worked for over 20 years in this system, I fear within the next decade with climate change, the biggest challenge for Bangalore is going to be urban flooding. Potholes will look like small change when our low-lying areas really get flooded in a bad year. So consequently, the point really, unless the powers that be realize that we will ring fence a certain part of day-to-day living, where we will, honestly speaking, try and reduce corruption, if not remove it, which is going to be impossible, you are not going to see a better road without potholes or lack of flooding or waste management, etc. So this is the fundamental problem that is really plaguing us. And with 40 to 50, 60% leakage, it will normally mean that instead of 2 inches tar, I'll put 1 inch tar. I have to save the money somewhere for the whole economics to work out. So we can talk all the engineering that we want, but we have a seriously dysfunctional system. So we should cease being in denial. First thing we have to admit, we have a collective problem, and this is becoming a hellhole for everybody. And as Anand said, the potholes don't recognize which party you belong to or which group you belong to. It can hit anybody, anytime.
Yes,
so consequently, I really think it's in our enlightened self-interest that we need to fix this. And if Bangalore is to have a global city kind of reputation, because people really get appalled when they come here, there's a dissonance between the Bangalore they read about versus the Bangalore they see on the ground.
Yeah.
And our construction work sites, just as an aside, are killer zones. They look like war zones rather than professional construction sites. So I'd like to just conclude by saying that finally, if you ask me, the onus really is on the political bureaucratic system to fix this. The ownership is with them. We as citizens are willing to do our part. And the Resident Welfare Association movement in Bangalore is a sign of that.
No, so
People
let me
like
say
Priya
this,
Shetty.
Mr. Ravichandar. And you know, Bengaluru is one of the cities that has an extremely active and aware, citizen groups who do speak up on issues, who do go to the court, who do, protests and demonstrations on the road, who do question their local officials and their local politicians on what's going on. And yet we are not able to come out of it, Lavanya Balal. I think this is the only issue perhaps where the politicians and the political parties can unite and say, after the rains, potholes will be fixed. It's not under our control.
It's very tragic that we lost a life today, but this is not the first time we are losing life in Bangalore because of potholes. We have seen earlier too, we have lost lives because of potholes. Unfortunately, the attitude towards a pothole has not changed, be it bureaucracy or be it politicians. I think there is a sense of entitlement and lack of accountability. Like rest of the panelists were saying here, I think Priya Chetty was saying about how the ward committees are very active. It is not enough if the ward committees are active because the funds come from BMP. And we in Bangalore at present, we do not have a mayor, if you're aware of it. I mean, it's been quite a long time. The elections have not been held. We do not have a mayor. So who do we hold accountable? Like if you travel from Mint Square to Chalukya Circle, where the governor lives, right next to the governor's bungalow, the road is in such a bad condition. The road construction has been going on from such a long time because of the smart city project. The debris are everywhere, and it is such a heavy traffic density road. And on this road, we see the debris everywhere. Like our urban infrastructure specialist was just saying right now, it looks like a war zone. Definitely, it does. It is not just the bylanes of Bangalore which have a problem. It is also the main roads, the heavy density traffic roads which have problem, not just because of smart city project, it is also because of the metro construction, it is because of the flyover constructions. I have always seen Bangalore roads.
No, but I am sorry, I will have to draw the distinction here and draw the line. I'm not even talking about the problems that citizens face in any city because of construction. It is a reality of most of our urban cities. We are in a constant mode of construction and development. And nobody is going to sit here and begrudge that development to say, don't build the flyovers or don't get me the metro. So, all right. We're willing to live with that. We're willing to live with that pain for if it brings about some relief. Lavanya Balal, the question is about roads where there is nothing happening, where actually contractors come, break the road only to rebuild it so that they can mint money out of it without solving the problem. I'm asking about why is it that political parties, governments, your government before this government, are not able to end this for us?
It is about political accountability. It is about holding the politicians accountable. When you vote for politicians, hold them accountable. Why are the roads having the same problems again and again and again? Why are we getting ready from one rains to another rains? Basically, I will say it is because we do not hold our leaders accountable. Yes, I come from a political party. I represent a political party. Having said that, irrespective of whichever party your leaders belong to, hold them accountable and ask them, why is it that every rainy season to another rainy season, there is construction work on the road going on, which can be avoided? Of course, there are a lot of white topping that is going on, which is never ending. I hope it ends soon. But our revenue minister saying the roads will be filled, the potholes will be filled in 13 days. What happens if it doesn't get filled in 13 days?
What happens if it does get filled in 13 days? That just goes on to prove that you could have done it, Anand Gurumurthy, in 13 days, but you didn't choose to do it so far until a 70-year-old man died there.
No. See, this was planned to, have a proper this thing before the monsoon, and many things were done before the monsoon. It's not that nothing was done. But despite that, there were many fractures which opened up during the monsoon. But I don't want to give any reasons. What I want to tell you is what happens after September 20th or maybe another 10 days, September 30th, whatever dates the revenue minister has told, is plain simple. I have already told this. This time the CM himself has discussed. CM himself is an engineer. Basavaraj Bommai is an engineer. He has told very clearly, categorically, he has told that we are going to transfer everybody within the BBMP. Okay, and we are going to bring in engineers from other departments. That is going to be the punishment this year if it's not fixed. And fixed in the sense, to an extent, it will be fixed till September 30th, at least motorable roads. And after that, they have to give a proper plan of action using which they have to fix the roads in the next 3 months to an extent where it doesn't open up in the next season. So this is some kind of accountability the political system, the current government under Basavaraj Bommai is going to fix. The officials, whoever is watching this, please tell it to your peers also. It's going to happen. And this time, even if you do any kind of lobbying, it won't work. It is going to happen. You are going to be transferred. And since BBMP itself has a if you are a BBMP engineer, you are going to be within the BBMP. All this is there. That also will be taken care of in a way. The Karnataka government under CM Basavaraj Bommai is very, very categorically looking at this issue, and it's going to fix it.
Okay, I want to bring in Priya as well. She wanted to make a point earlier. Go ahead, please. I think you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
No worries.
One thing I think we need to stop is the Bandaid solutions.
Yeah.
I'll give you a small example. And, the reactiveness really, really bothers me. And the more I'm thinking about it, I'm just listening to myself, trying to look at an upside for what has happened today and realizing how crass I sound when the death of a senior citizen, a disabled citizen, is how do we fix it to make it better for everybody else? Just a moment to be able to remember that a man who was just going on the road, trying to be independent and just living his life, has lost it in 1 second. But the Band-Aids have to stop. I'll give you a small example. October 12th last year, there was an app that was launched specifically to cover all the potholes, the numbers filled in, who does it. So you had a GPS location, you had geotagging, you had an exact before and after. This was what was done, again, to respond to the fact that potholes were being built, were constantly sort of piling up. Now, this Band-Aid comes in, and all said and done, Ravichandra talked about it as well. As citizens, I'm wondering when I'm going to go over the side to being one of those eccentric people who keep pointing out stuff on the road and doing weird stuff. But if I can save a life by doing it, I'm happy to do so. But as citizens, Tanvi, we are tired. And when this Band-Aid comes in saying, okay, now we've launched an app to do this. So for that 5 minutes, we're so grateful because we're technology city, right? We get excited. Just last 2 days, and I want to tell you this because before something else happens, I hope you're able to record it. Bangalore, for its, in all its wonder, has launched huge LED screens and bus stops, which are such a safety hazard. Take my word for it. In the next 1 week, you're going to hear about accidents caused by these multi-colored, multi-jazzy, moving lights kind of LED screens that are popping over at every bus stand. Where is the concern for safety?
You're absolutely right. Where is the concern for safety? And I know what you're saying, and I'm sure, the fact that you're having to raise the same issue, ask the same questions year after year after year can sound frustrating. But if the citizens don't, then it's going to be taken for granted even more. Mr. Somashekar, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. See, this question of transfer of engineers is a big one.
Yeah.
See, in the BDA, people who come there wanted to get transferred. They wanted to do everything to get transferred. They are corrupt. So this is an old story. 70 people transferred, 80 people transferred from here to there. Fixed responsibility. Sack them. Sack some of them. They are unfit to be engineers. They are unfit to be in the job that they are in. Let them be sacked first. That is the action that will rebound on them. This transfer is another big job. That's another corruption route that comes in. How much do you pay me? Where do you want to go? So that is not going to solve the problem. And as Priya rightly said, Ravichandra also, all of us have worked in citizen welfare thing in the city. I slightly disagree with Ravichandra. This citizen welfare, see, for example, JNU norm came in. The consultation was done by BMTC when that wonderful Upendra Tripathi was the MD. Entire Bangalore citizenship had come together. They came together to decide what is good for them and gave a video, and based on which a lot of changes took place. if we come together as citizens to work for the welfare of the thing, and each of us go and fix, every resident welfare organization knows who are the culprits, who are the people behind that. And we don't care really. I mean, if some politician or whatever says, see, for example, I'm thick-skinned. I don't just care for any of them. So don't worry about it. Work for the welfare of the people. Bring them up. Let us take them to the thing. It is not prohibitive. The courts are also very receptive. And today we are going to get a chief justice, women chief justice, who was in herself an activist once upon a time, fighting for a cause along with us, shoulder to shoulder in Sankey times. So let us take advantage of the courts. The courts are the only place where the politicians will answer. The engineers are scared. Let us bring up and ask for punishment, not get away. The delay makes them get away. Don't allow them to get away. Let us fix that. And whoever is listening, haul them up. That is, the action should emanate from whatever has to happen. This kind of, transfers, we will do it, with thinking is being done. And all said and done, we have got theses being done. And that's fit for the libraries. Let us make into action. And I would compliment our new chief minister. Basavaraj Bommai is a very, very soft-spoken, listening to people. He has plenty of the thing that he can implement, and a lot of hope.
Well, let's hope what you expect from him actually happens on ground. Mr. Somashekar, I wanted to ask you one question. If I'm not mistaken, new rules were brought in by the civic body when it comes to when it comes to giving compensation to the victims of pothole accidents. But while they say that the onus is on you to prove that your injury is because of the pothole accident, is it also that you have to, if there is a warning that has been put in place that this is a problematic pothole, then they are not responsible? Then it's up to you if you still get into an accident?
No, not
What's a
exactly.
warning for a problematic pothole? I just
Where
want to know.
I'll tell you, when there are series of warnings that have been issued for bad roads, where the civic body has told you this is a bad road, then you better be careful yourself. For example, today we actually had the traffic police member react to this story saying, I don't know why he was on that route. There are potholes on that route. This is the kind of response, Anand, that we get. What do you mean, I don't know why he was on that route? Now, it's a traffic policeman, so we're not holding him accountable to that because it's not his responsibility to fix the potholes. But it's the mindset that I'm talking about. You are in an accident, you will be booked for negligent riding, you will have to prove that you deserve compensation, and then we may think of transferring the negligent official.
You rightly hit the nail on the head. This particular this thing cannot be done by individuals. It has to be a collective role of citizens. The collective role of citizens under the resident welfare associations can fix it. They can go around, they can mobilize, they can organize, they can say that this, whatever you are saying is not the final thing, and we don't believe in it. And that can be changed. And mind you, like what you exactly brought out, we can work on the system where they are trying to get away. There is a leeway for them to escape.
Yes.
This compensation is, of course, very pittance that is given for our life.
Let me just point that out, Mr. Somashekar. BBMP said they will pay 15,000 rupees as compensation to victims of accident caused by bad roads and potholes. Compensation will be 3 lakh in the case of death. Application may be rejected, Anand Gurumurthy, if the accident place warned about the potholes. The application may be rejected on the ground that if the place where the accident took place had displayed all the precautions, thereby warning the public about potholes, then you are not eligible for the compensation. The proof needed to claim compensation will have to be submitted by the victim of the accident. What's the message, Anand, that we are trying to send here? Or does the civic authority believe that people are so jobless in the city that they are simply filing claims for compensation on account of fake pothole accidents now?
No, if they still are influential and get away with the politician and he influences, this can be overcome.
Yes.
Underline that point.
Mr. Somashekar, let me just get Anand Gurumurthy to respond to this.
This is something ridiculous, I would say. It is the authority there. In fact, I would say the policeman who sees such an accident or in whose jurisdiction this accident happens, let him file a case, let him file an FIR. That will at least end this matter, because when in 2010, when B.S. Yediyurappa's tenure was happening, when he was the first time when he was the CM, that time Dr. M.S. Salim, under his this thing as additional commissioner for traffic, he had a committee in which he had clearly given instruction to all the officers: if such a thing happens, if such accident happens, file a case on the authority, on the BBMP authority. This will also solve the problem to an extent, because once case start getting filed, right, then they become serious. Something like this has to happen. Okay, otherwise, if the policeman himself says, why should he go on that road? I don't think that is correct. To an extent, this has to be fixed by the police department also. Wherever there are potholes, wherever accidents are happening, let them start filing case against the authorities. That should also happen, as Mr. Somashekar says. People have to take this up. Otherwise, it's not happening. It is being pushed politically. It is being pushed towards the officials to fix it. All kinds of demands for funds are being allocated every season, every every budget. A lot of budget is allocated. In spite of it, if it's not happening, then the best way is the policeman files a FIR.
Yes, no, let me say that, and thank you for actually, being honest enough about it. I'm sure you've gone through the pain of those roads yourself, just like any other citizen in this state or in any of these big cities. Let me give an example of Mumbai, no better, and many other metros, no better, when it comes to the problem of potholes. Mr. Ravi Chandar, these civic bodies don't lack funds. BMC, for example, the Bombay civic body, is one of the richest civic bodies in all of Asia. They allocate the funds, they don't even spend all of it every single year, year after year. So it's obviously not a problem of money, it's a problem of intent. Is it a problem of skill? Do we have enough experts out there? And if they are available, if they are brought on board, why is it that then that expertise doesn't translate on ground?
So there, Tanvi, the thing is really, there is a reasonable amount of skill, at least when it comes to basic road building, etc. I come back to that earlier point I mentioned. There is considerable corruption. So the best of intention of wanting to do the right thing by the road does not happen, because it gets diverted elsewhere. I would agree with Mr. Somashekar on one thing, that collectively, if the people come together, change can happen. There's an example in the recent property tax issue on the past property tax, where penalty as well as interest is being levied. When enough citizens have made a noise about it, the system is now talking about removing the penalty and the interest. So I would agree with Mr. Somashekar that collectively people coming together cannot be ignored. My limited point really is, we can keep on saying people must come together, people must file cases, people must think.
Yes.
But the question really is, why do we elect our leaders?
Yes.
If they cannot deliver and they cannot this thing, let them get out of the place. That's my point.
And Mr. Ravi Chandar, let me add to this. Tonight on Prime Time here on Mirror Now, we picked two issues which are about the citizen. The first one was prevention of crime and justice in crimes against women. The second was these potholes. Unfortunately, in both of these conversations, one of the largest themes was citizens' responsibility. Citizens who must come through, raise their voice, be aware, make people accountable, form their own groups, go to the court. All of this is fine. And people who are aware and have the time and have the capability must do so. But this can't be a reason for the governments to shrug responsibility. It can't be a reason for the police force, for the civic body, for the state governments, for the ministers to shrug responsibility for what they have been picked for. You have been voted to power as a corporator, as a legislator, as a parliamentarian. For my governance, to give me clean water, good roads, safe environment, quality education. These are the issues of governance, which is why you were elected to power. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter to the elected politicians. For votes, they'll find other issues to rile you up, to get you emotional and get your vote. At that point, all of this is forgotten and put on the back burner. Maybe the responsibility is ours. It is up to us to vote out those who do not deliver on the basics of governance. Thank you for joining us.